Good morning. I'm back again today. I tried yesterday. I tried 3 times, and I had a cough, and I don't know, couldn't get going. And then once I did get going, my computer crashed. My dependable Mac just crashed, and when I tried to recover, I was about 6 minutes and 40 seconds into to the lesson, and it was gone. So I'm going to try to reconstruct. First thing I want to do is thank one of my viewers for sending me a comment. Constructive, good, I appreciate it. And I noticed it was addressed to my given name. And having been in Taiwan almost 23 years, getting close, March will be 23. March will be 24, I take that back. Who cares? You don't care, right? I don't really care that much either. But anyway, I usually use my Chinese name, which is Hai Yang. And today, in the honor, I noticed that anyway, he addressed the comment to my given name. So I dug into YouTube, into the settings, and made sure that I put my Chinese name written in English. But I'm wearing this shirt in tribute to that. And first, let me lift up so that you can see this beautiful wave. Beautiful Japanese style from a woodblock print, probably. Wave. In here we have kind of the breeze, the clouds and the breeze blowing across the ocean, which in fact is the translation of my Chinese name, Hai Yang. Hai is the ocean, the wave, the ocean, and Yang is the gentle breeze blowing across the ocean. And this name was given to me quite some time ago. Number one, because Hai and Hayes, my family name, were relatively similar, and we do that a lot when we're translating or changing names, giving names to both to Chinese people from English speakers and from Chinese speakers to English speakers, both ways. And a group of wonderful office ladies gave me this name because they thought it reflected my gentlemanly nature. And I'm using it because it helps me to remember that I want to present a gentle image, a calming effect. And my teachings, my sharings better, more aptly, are predicated on this concept of sharing the peace and the gentleness and the wholeness that I live with. And again, kudos to the viewer. But this made me start thinking about, well, actually, in my meditations, topics come up. And something about the persistence of a unique personality, a seeming persistence. And I started looking around for either more information, which will either support what I'm entertaining or not. Anyway, I have 2 cats, and I looked to them, both rescue cats, and both of them had traumatic, before I got them, they were 3 to 5 months old. It's really hard to tell, probably closer to 3. Both of them, one was, I got him, Pepper, 2 years earlier than Little. But they both shared that they were discarded or homeless. So they're rescue kitties. So no telling what kind of trauma they experienced. My big boy, Pepper, He's more calm, uh, but he's also more willful. If you don't feed him, he'll bite you. A lot of people are afraid of him because he comes over and hisses, and he's known to bite. I can show you a testament yesterday. Uh, less and less as he gets. He's about 4 now as he gets older, but he's a grouchy guy, but full of love, and he hangs up. He's constantly nearby. He hangs with me. Whereas Little is more skittish. I think she had more trauma and it's closer. She's closer to the trauma of being not really on the streets because she came from a small Aboriginal village, but in the wilds for sure. And we don't know. We've just tried to give her a good home. Little. She does get bullied by Pepper some, but they're pretty inseparable now. It's been a good addition to our family. But anyway, this is a long way of saying that both of them have unique personalities. She's skittish, a little bit. They're both shy. Both of them hide when someone new comes in the house. So they share that. They're shy. But it doesn't take long. As soon as the voices fade away, they're back out and about as if nothing. It's not suffering any trauma from this. It just would prefer to hide. But Little is a lady. We've got a boy and a girl, and Little is a lady. She's gentle and sweet, but she's also mischievous. Anyway, distinct personalities, and these are really my first 2 cats. I had a cat long ago, but he didn't last long because being a vegetarian that time, I tried to make my beautiful Siamese kitten into a vegetarian, and he was patient. He'd come and smell some kind of concoction mixture of powders, vegetarians sourced, and turn his nose up and go, and he was beautiful, and he would go elsewhere, and finally he just didn't come home. He found a better place. But anyway, never try to force your ways on anyone else, much less an animal. So this is my first time to see cats, and my wife has had more experience with cats, but she said, any of you that have any animal know that they have distinct personalities. And my question is about what? I sort of see a persistence in personalities, and where does it come from? And of course I went to that old nature and nurture argument, and I've mentioned probably part of the trauma, part of our care, part of our personality has a part to play in the nurture. But I think it's in their nature that they inherently are born with a personality, as are humans, and which was what I was really speculating about, is the human personality. Now we all know that we have to go through a process of recognizing that the ego, the egoic mind is our biggest enemy along the path, along our journey to wholeness, to completeness. The questioning, any attempt to have a plan or control our lives or make decisions based on this egoic mind, this combination. And then you need to separate, you need to peel away the ego from the mind and start assigning tasks, because the mind is a fine tool. And start assigning it tasks. That's what I do. I give it jobs. I give my mind, and it just goes off happy as can be and continues. And then we'll make its presence felt when it's proudly like a puppy. I have something for you, and share. And generally useful. And then I also use it for, as I said time and time again, finding, sorting, filing, and storing. Much like using a computer. I mean, the computer is simply a reflection, I think, of people looking at how their minds work and trying to duplicate it, trying to improve it. But it's been a daunting task to improve what we were inherently given. But what I noticed is my experience, which I've shared with going through the non-abiding awakening, the stages towards the eventual, the inevitable, permanent, or abiding awakening. And I've documented, I still talk about the changes. And the biggest change is being able to accept diametrically opposed, seemingly diametrically opposed opposites. Duality. Understanding, embracing non-duality, that it's a range, it's a sphere that contains the elements of it. And one that I really worked on a lot was free will or destiny. And now, during Abiding Awakening, when I reconciled the differences, reconciled the apparent duality in the world, and saw the inherent, the underlying non-duality, so that I could go, free will, sure, 100%. Destiny, of course, 100%. And I can entertain these two without a meltdown, without a mind wipe. I can get my head around that there's actually no conflict. It's in complete agreement with life. So I think probably looking back on this event 6 years ago, this just made 6 years in June, May. Anyway, looking back on this, it's probably one of the transitions, one of the transformations that I've noticed most. Is a ease, of course, and this comes with not entertaining conflict any longer. I'm not conflicted. Which is a great thing. But one of the things I noticed by reflection, it's like looking in the mirror or looking in a pond, actually looking in the eyes and the souls and the spirits of those around me. Because this was such a life-altering event, I did the wrong thing. Time has taught me. I ran out and told my intimates that, hey, I woke up. And at first there's an initial, oh, wow, that's fantastic, amazing, and people want to be around you. And I'm getting the attention that I crave for some kind of seeing it as an accomplishment. And then the rise of the most insidious ego in my experience was the spiritual ego, where you're different, you're better, you're achieved something. And how that over the first 2 years, first of all, based on the response that I got, the initial joy was soon replaced by doubt. And unsurprisingly to me, because one of the inherent, I'm going to talk about personalities, one of the inherent lasting parts of my personality is doubt. I doubt everything from any source. My immediate response, I used to verbalize, I doubt it, and that's not received very well. But internally, that's the narrative, that's the dialogue, is that I doubt it. And then I set about reconciling, reflecting, ruminating, chewing my cud like a cow does, just chewing this issue until I can incorporate it into my system. It qualifies from, in the sorting system, from information to potential knowledge to potential wisdom to a wisdom itself. So this is my process continually. And it's internally looking at personality. It's hard to see ourselves from the inside, isn't it, sometimes? To see the way that others would see us from our outside. But I saw this as a persistent part of my character. I've talked before about assuming that I was correct. I'm sure I'm correct. And time has taught me. It's funny how time is this greatest teacher. Time has taught me that every time I assume, I say I'm positive, it turns out that I was incorrect. So I'm a little reluctant based on past experience. I do learn from past mistakes, which is a good thing. It's very useful. And it saves a lot of pain and suffering, doesn't it? But I have this kind of mind that, and it's part of my personality. So being sure and doubting. And parts of my personality is rebellious. Tell me to do something, no way. Ask me to do something, anything I can do when I'm asked, I will do. So this is another aspect of my personality. Now, doubt remains. I still react to anything new. I doubt it. And then I go through my process of, as I said, examining it to see whether it can contribute or it needs to be discarded. And most things are discarded, aren't they? I'm told that the top of our spine, where we receive the neutrinos, the information, the bombarded by the universe, that our system eliminates 99% of all the stimulus, of all the incoming. Otherwise, we wouldn't even be able to string a sentence together. Now, I have a son that I'm told about 10% of the stimulus, something chemically, neurologists tell me chemically, something is awry in his system that he gets 10%. And so consequently, he's in a kind of a state of shock all the time. You can see overwhelm. You can see when he would curl up to try to protect himself as he slept in a fetal position. And he was diagnosed as extremely autistic. And he just was overstimulated. It didn't have the filtering system that we have. It wasn't as effective. Some chemical reaction. But anyway, this is the process we ignore. And then we take that 1%. I take that 1% and break it down and utilize a very small percentage of that initial 1%. that I receive through neutrinos. And neutrinos are generated when a star collapses. I lost the word, but there's the process when the sun will burn out, when it burns bright, and it sends neutrinos. Neutrinos are subatomic particles that carry information, and they have a weight. Because they carry the weight, they have a weight. It's been demonstrated scientifically. Quantum physics is demonstrated. The neutrinos are quite interesting, and we're bombarded by billions of them. And they penetrate, go right through us, go right through everything, and go through the earth and continue on the way. But it's this neutrino is a way to bring ancient wisdom, ancient information to us. And it travels at just under the speed of light. And that's because it has some, even though infinitesimal, it has mass. But anyway, these neutrinos are full of information, and some of us are more attuned to it than others. But again, our system filters it out. And then my brain, I use my brain to continue the filtration. But anyway, we're talking about personalities, this persistent of certain characteristics. Now, after abiding, awakening occurred, as I said, I retained the doubt. We're talking about elements of personality. But other things I was able to discard. And the biggest thing I discarded was the need to be correct. That was why I was so adamant. I had a deep-seated need for recognition and to be correct. I wanted to be correct. And now it's humorous to me, this desire. It was a desire to be recognized for intelligent, discerning, trend-setting, thoughtful man. But again, I was talking about reflection of after this abiding awakening, after I couldn't resist sharing it. One of my biggest takeaways actually was when your turn comes, if you can, keep it close to the vest. Keep it contained. Because number one, people really don't want to hear it. The initial kind of joy for those that are spiritually minded and their close associates, but then their doubt, I don't think so. And because of the reflection, they're looking at you and they expect this false expectation. We expect the Buddha to be able to walk on water, to be perfect, to be always centered, serene, not to have any aspects of a previous personality. And I noticed that they doubt because they see that you're not a perfect human being. And I understood that perfection is the moment that when you reach perfect state, when you dwell in complete bliss, it's the moment that you leave your body. Your body cannot sustain that levels of energy. Our bodies, as long as we're in our bodies, we're imperfect, which I think is a beautiful thing. I embrace my imperfectness. At the same time, I told you about the rise of the spiritual ego, this real insidious, dangerous one, that I'm more advanced, I'm better. And then you're taken at the knees with a dose of normalcy. How can you be special when this is the actual condition of all of us? Everyone is in one stage of awakening. We're all sleeping Buddhas. And abiding awakening is to wake up to the reality, the simple reality of what, both non-duality, but even deeper is the completeness, the non-divisiveness, the wholeness, the eternity, the joy, the love, the peace. Glimpses of these conditions, which are our natural state. So it's easy to, you taking down the knees, and this spiritual ego took a couple years, because I talked about before about maturing as a Buddha, and there is a process involved in maturation, as in any kind of rebirth, right? Or birth, for that matter. So, looking at the reflection, saying, well, you're still Dennis. And maybe on some level they could feel something different, but not overwhelmingly so. My behavior did not meet their expectations of what an awakened being was supposed to be. But the interesting thing is we're clueless until you experience. And this is what I talked about. That's what today's title, now I'm finally getting it 26 minutes in, is The Dude Abides. And the dude, those of you who don't know, Jeffrey Lebowski, Donald, Walter, Jesus, these characters from The Big Lebowski in 1998, Coen Brothers masterpiece, probably my favorite movie. The dude is what he called himself. The dude abides. And I took this to, first I had persistent personality. But I said, no, the dude abides, because no matter what happened to him, and a lot happened in that crazy movie, he remained true to himself. He was the dude. His personality persists, as does ours. And as I expanded on this theme, I started to realize that if I watch advanced people that have been invaluable in my evolution, my growth, and it's Adyashanti from 25 years ago when I first met him, when he was in his first year of teaching, and Sadhguru, who I've never been together in the flesh, but his message and his presentation and everything resonate with me. And I encourage you to follow. This is my personal endorsement for myself. I encourage you to find whatever source you find helpful, whatever source speaks to you is the correct one for you. But these teachers, these gurus, these shifus, these masters are here to point the way. They're not here to be cloistered around and to venerate. You can respect them, but caution to join a group, because a group is inflicted by shortcomings of all of us. And we get together in a group and it's amplified. And pretty soon there's a distance between the teacher and his followers, and the structure that allows his followers to congregate, to study, to learn. That's why the internet is such an invaluable tool. I can enjoy someone's lesson, but without going through the process of getting to their speaking place. Although it's great to experience them in person, it's enough to know that they're inhabiting a physical form. And my other teacher left before I was 4 years old when Paramahamsa passed in 1952, when he left when he couldn't sustain his bliss and his perfection in the human form any longer and left. And his teachings were invaluable to me. But there's something to be said for something in the flesh. A teacher still inhabiting this form, this physical form. So after my permanent, my abiding awakening, much of the consternation, much of the confusion of people nearby, I was still myself. My personality, even though I like to think it's been refined, fine-honed, a new improved version, but essentially something is sustained, something persists, some elements of my being. And I started to look, Buddha had a personality. All the teachers that I've had a opportunity to study and to observe have personalities. And I started to realize that, reincarnation, when we talk about reincarnation, although I inherently in a total agreement with it, I've never gotten bogged down because I just never been bogged down with any kind of specific understanding of what reincarnation means, having realized that probably not capable of grasping it anyway. But something that I have seen, something that does seem to be a pattern, is that personality persists. Although our form changes, our sex, we can be one lifetime a man, the next lifetime a female, to look for that balance of yin and yang, to see life from both angles, as the yin and yang symbol, the black and the red, the black and the white circle. But this personality is here. This is what something that I say does reincarnate, the form. You bring the experiences. You choose this lifetime, you choose this body, you choose your family, you choose your conditions. When you're on the other side, waiting to be reborn, you choose it, hopefully, with the idea in mind that it'll offer you the most opportunity to work out your karma, both with beings, both with yourself, both with your environment, your society. It'll offer you this opportunity. But now I now I see that personality, the dude abides, as he so gleefully told us. We abide. Our personality will be back again. We love who we are.